ورحمة الله وبركاته. waxaan iskugu nimid inaan maaragtay governorka soo dhaweeyno waana fursad aad u weyn waa sad ogtihiin at least dadkeena halkan joogay for a long time governor oo noo yimid ama aan u tagnay ama aan maaragtay governor ahaan aan u qiimeynay ma soo marin. You know, it's a very new history for us, so this is really great. marka insha Allah waxaan sameynaynaa sheekh saacad baan marka soo dhaweynayna inuu quraan nagu soo furo insha Allah iyo wacdi yar marka insha Allah, and then from there on we have more speakers. So assalamu alaykum.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursalin sayyidina Mohamed wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Amma ba'd. لقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقل اعملوا فسيرى الله عملكم ورسوله والمؤمنون بالغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. صدق الله العظيم. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا عمل أحدكم عملا فليتقن. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وقال أيضا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم والله لا تدخلون الجنة حتى تؤمنوا ولا تؤمنوا حتى تحابوا أولا أدلكم بشيء إذا فعلتموه تحاببتم أفشوا السلام بينكم. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وليال marka ugu horeysa aniga oo idinku salaamaya salaanta islaamka assalaamu calaykum waraxmatullaahi wabarakaatuhu ayaa aayadaha qur-aankeena akhriyay ilaahay nagu anfiyo iyo xadiista nabiga calayhi salaatu wassalaam kuwii karta ee ku fahmanaan allah inaga dhigo walaal marka ugu horeysa marka waxa sharaf inoo ah inaga oo muslina oo Soomaaliya oo isku meel ku abtirsanayna oo waliba intiinan aan garanayay ka soo jeeda gobolkeenii Soomaaliyeed Kenya NFD gaar ahaan county-ga Wajeer waxa sharaf inoo caawa inaan soo dhaweyno inaga oo Minnesota joogna governorkii county-ga Wajeer Mr. Ahmed Abdullahi. marka de kolley hadii la isku yimaado oo meel la isugu yimaado munaasabaduna ay sidaa tahay waxaan governorka leeyahay ku soo dhawow Minnesota Minneapolis iyo waliba halkan xafladda lagu qoto la yiraahdo maartay St. Louis Park. Mr. Governor, welcome.
aad waa mahadsan tahay. waxaan rabaa inaan soo dhaweeyo Sheikh Mohamed Daahir oo asagana erey gaaban insha Allah noo sheegi doono.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaykum. anaga haddaan reer Minnesota nahay governorka waan soo dhaweynay markii aan maqalay siyaasadda Kenya waxa waa isbedel baa imaaday oo aan maqalay waxa la yiraahdo devolution baa la sameeyay oo gobol kasta ama district kasta ama county kasta waxa loo sameeyay dawlad iyada oo gaar ah aad baan ugu farxanay maxaa yeelay waagi hore waxa waqti badan aan ku qaadanay niman MPyaal ah oo inta la doortay Nairobi aadayin markii imaadaan campaign oo qabyaalad iyo waxyaalaha ku dhisan dadka ku qaybinayeen ayaa waqti intaasoo ilaa waqtiga xornimada la qaatay ayaa waqtiga ku dhumanay marka nin oo magaaladii wadankii boodley oo miisaanadii wadankii qayb ka keenayo oo wadankii ka dhisahay aad baan u farxanay mar labaad haddana waan sii farxanay markii la yiraahdo meeshii dhalinyaro oo educated oo professionals ah meeshii haddana u halgamaya ayadana aad baan u farxanay markuu ninkan la soo doortay idar aad iyo aad baan u farxay maxay waxaan fahanay ama istusnay in nin oo educator oo professional inuu yahay in uu waxyaalo fara badan oo mataqaana oo isbedel ah aan meeshii aan ka mataqaaniyaan ka rajaynayna kulliba gabadha markii aad meeshii imaatay aad laftaada sidii aad moodaysay ma aha waxyaalo badan baad kala kulantay waxyaalo badan caqabado badan iyo dib badan baad kala kulantay maxay leedahay dad la korabtagariyay oo waqti intaas oo ilaa 40 sano 50 sano waxa loo tataayo gacanta waxa loo saaray iyo wax saas oo kale wax lagu qaybiyay iyo qabyaalad iyo mataqaana la korabtagariyay ayaa u imaatay marka waxaan rajaynaynaa adigoo aan ogsoonahay maanta shaqadan gabarnimada adiga mid shaqo hadda adiga laf ahaanta u baahanta inay ahayn oo aad tahay nin professional ah oo haddii adiga aad maanta shaqo aad ahayn ka hor aad shaqo fiican haysatay haddana aad heli karto fursaddan ilaahayga ku abuuray oo waddankan intaqaanaa inaad u dhalatay kuu qadaray oo educationkaadi waxaad ku sii inaad fursad qaali ah oo aan weli ku soo marin maanta inaad haysto horta ku talagal waxaan rabnaa inaad dadkan aad midnimadiisa iyo hore u kiciisa iyo intaqaanaa waxyaalo fara badan aad samaysid waxyaalo badan oo u baahan waxaa ka mid ah dadka in la corruption-kan iyo qabyaaladan waxaan laga bixiyo waxaana looga bixin karaa qabyaalada waxaa keenay oo dadka ku kala beeray leaders maadana bixin karaan weliba adiga haddaad gabar tahay oo ilaahay fursad ku siiyey qabyaaladan waa bixin kartaa dadka leeto intaqaanaa civic education badan baad program baad hagaajin kartaa dadka example fiican tusi kartaa dadka kula shaqeeya ayaad kulligood aad wada ayaad intaqaanaa aad dhigi kartaa hawshan waxay igala qabta dadweynihi baa u taagan oo qabyaalada qaata ka taagan oo rabinba oo qaybta aan rabin marka insha Allah waxaan kugu duceynaynaa in Ilaahay kugu garab galo hana ka caajizin adigana yay ku qaadan adiga bedelka lagu doofsan adiga doofso oo dadkii wada hagaaji adiga lagu doofsanin marka hana ka qalbi jabin maxay waxaan wax laga soo shaqeeyay qof kale u maqan oo hadda aad ku haleynina malaha maadaama aad soo bixisay shaqadan oo kale waa shaqada dadka qaar ay ka carari lahaayeen waxaan anigu waxba kama qaban karo oo eedeeda banaanka istaagi lahaa laakiin haddaad soo gashay Allah ku fududeeyay garab baan kugu nahay waa lagu la qabani marka hawsha ha ka caajizin dadkan dhalinyaradan aad arkayso oo dibadaha soo aaday haddii waddankooda maanta ay mataqaanaa ay wax mataqaanaa horokiciisa kulli diyaar bay u wada yihiin inay wax ka qabtaan diyaar bay u yihiin inay talo ku kordhiyaan wax bay diyaar bay u yihiin hatta qaarkood inay u soo shaqo tagaan dalka waddanka wax ka maamulaan diyaar bay u yihiin laakiin meeshii meel la aadi karo oo la imaan karo inay u ekaato oo environmentkii yaa loo baahan yahay marka ilaahay ku fududeeyo haddii la yidhaaho annagana waxay aan kula qaban karno waan kula qabanaynaa wixii adiga aad mataqaanaa kalena su-aalaha waxaasay ku imaan doonaan adigana wixii aad noo sheegaysay wixii aad waddanka saddexaad aad bilowday wixii aad aad ka gaartay iyo wixii adaa noo sheegi doonaa marka waxaan ku leeyahay soo dhawaaw asalaamu calaykum waraxmatullahi wabarakaatu
badi ma jeclay siyaasa marka shaka aan mar walba sheega ayaa jirta nin gabar jeclaaday iyo nin siyaasa jeclaaday waana arrin isoo martay nin walaalkeeya oo siyaasad jeclaay oo aad u jeclaay aan u fadhiisanay alla raxmada waa dhintay hadda marka waa kari waynay waxa sir wax kasta I will do anything else except politics marka anoo tii la yaaban ayaa nin saaxiibaan ahnay aan isa imaanay marka gabadha jeclaaday marka xogo waxaan rabay gabadhii inaan ka leexiyo ninka waxa siray waa ku maqlay laakiin sidaas ayaan ku jeclaay gabadha marka waxaan ku tashtay in nin siyaasad jeclaaday iyo nin gabar jeclaadayba aan la talinin marka horto aniga siyaasad ma kula rabin laakiin waa gashay Allah ku garab gala wajaarna wax li sheegaa malaha waayo waxaan u marka horto mid ayaanu ku leeyahay dadka waxa la arkaa in ay box kugu ridaan ay ku dhahan box kan waxaad u socdaa inta u socdaa laakiin ani wajeer meelaan marin malaha 97 inta ka dambeysay magaalayaashii bilaabay iyo tuulayaashii yaryarad bilaawday ma ahayn meeshii ugu dambeysay tuuladii ugu dambeysay oo markii ida la bilaabay waxay ahayd Tarantura iyo Gariley labadana waa tagay ka bacdi ma tagay laakiin hal ayaan ku leeyahay magaalo kastoon tagay intaan ka shaqeynay wajeer 25 sanad dadka isku mid ay ahaayeen sarif ayaan tagay iyadoo biilaan ah caafimaad aan lahayn wada aan lahayn the same people were the same people I met in Godama waxay u jirtaa mooyal waxay u jirtaa 6 miles 10 miles were the same people maanta hadii aad tagtid were the same people dadka malaria qabi dadka biilaan tahay arbajahan markaan tagay waxaad arkaysaa mashiintii oo laga tagay oo biilaan oo dadkii ay rafaasayeen so waxa la arkaa wajeer marka joogto in box lagu rido box kan lagu rido laakiin hal aan ku leeyahay halkan ku leeyahay waxa they will put you in boxes but please just remember whether the person is from Sarif, from Godoma, from Mansa, from Butte, from Hadado, from Arbajahan, the people I've met in my 25 years of service were the same people. They had the same needs. Lack of desk, lack of education, lack of whatever. So that's just my advice. Marka, wa mahasantai, thank you so much. You chose I am a coward. You chose a profession that I will not advise anybody to go into. Marka, diaspora, waxyaalo badan aan ka baranay, you know, when I first came, maskaxday waxay ahayd lagu xiray oo one line of thinking. Maanta haddii aad i wareysatid, I have a different version for the place I worked for 25 years, Wajir Hospital. Marka, there's a lot of investment here, there's a lot of skills here. Dadkan maskaxdooda waxaa la arkaa lacagta inay xogoo nugu yartahay oo dollarkii inkastoo dadka ay u malaynayeen inaan jababka ay noo buuxdo ma noo buuxdo. No, we just as poor as any other person, but their brains here. We have engineers here, we have teachers here, we have everything else. Marka soo dhawow. Hopefully, dadka aad adiga hadda aad madax nooga dhigtay ama aad committee-da gelisay ama ku jireen iyo whatever diaspora, we will work with them. Annaga contract ma soo raadsanayna. No, consultancy soo raadsanayna. Just work with us and we will be able to work with you. So the question, the challenge is, what can we do for Wajir? Let's not put ourselves in boxes. Marka aniga saasan leeyahay. Thank you so much. Wa mahadsantahay.
Assalamu alaikum. Magacayga farxiyo waa ligu laakiin Faadumo baa la dhahaa. Farxiyadana ma diiday hadda ligu yeerano okay waa. Mr. Governor, thank you so much for visiting. This is Minnesota. I hope we give you the Minnesotan visit or the welcoming, and we hope that next time you come back, we'll do more than what we did, inshallah. Mine will be brief. I don't want to take people who want to ask the governor questions or concerns about Wajir district, or Wajir County rather. Mine is just short. I just want to say the main things, for me, I'm from Wajir. I've been township, that's my teacher right there. And I just see different in the schools. Township primary is just the same, nothing changed. I was shocked. So, as for education, I say the main thing, Mr. Governor, you should insist on. I have kids, and when I go to the schools, I see it different than when I was raised back in Wajir and how I used to go to school. I see a lot of difference in there, and I'm like, I wish I can go back and transform my school, Wajir girls, township primary, to how the schools are back here. What is it, Marke? Rainbow girls, yeah. Yes. So I'll emphasize, change primary schools the way, you think. Ilma hadi o Oscar, they don't have good foundation. They won't do anything in high school or primary. Foundation matters. The other one is, somebody asked me to comment about something. I said I won't, but I might say now. The other thing is, as you know, Wajir County, you just said we don't have agriculture or something, economy in central Kenya. But the main, things that I was raised was my mom used to do miraa, and I'm sure a lot of people do that. So I saw in Wajir, somewhere in Wajir County that you raised the tax. And that may discourage a lot of them doing that, because now I know some of the mothers there, that's the main source of income. And they take their kids to school and pay their school fees and all that. So if you raise the tax or stop them from doing that, what's your other source of, do you have any other source of income for them? So I just want to say those things, and hopefully we'll see change. I might go back next year, and probably by the time I will be there, I'll see a lot of changes, Mr. Governor. I'll hold you into it. So with that, thank you guys. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
جزاك الله خير الشيخ محمد داهر. هذا حقول بينا إن شاء الله نن عن أقوير دون the youth who represents the youth. Say youth smart لكن who represents the youth, and an example of a clear example of brain drain. نكيد لو قلت لك إنه دي لو عليه إن شاء الله. شرم أركي يوسف إن شاء الله سينا عريم يرنو نتعاون دون.
Assalamu alaikum. It is my honor to be given this opportunity to talk before you because I'm Wajer by blood, born in Wajer, raised in Wajer, played in Wajer. And so it's my honor to see my governor here with me. And all of these people from Wajer, we know each other. I'm not going to talk about a big speech or whatever, but I went to Kenya in July after being here for nearly that. So the difference that I went and what I saw, I just want to share with you guys briefly. Wajer has changed completely. It has grown in terms of size. We used to go from, like, those people from Wajer, for example, Wajer girls used to be there, like, after Wajer girls used to be there's nothing. But now if you go to Wajer girls, and it's all the way connected up to Wagala, and even all the way up to, I had an opportunity to go to by bus all the way to Bute. Things have changed. People have grown. There's a lot of population increase. And I really don't know where all those people came from, but it's, it's a big increase. In fact, sincerely, I was new. I was only few people. Somebody know Karkare? That's the only guy that know me. The rest are not there. The other thing is, sincerely, in terms of wealth, there's a big disparity in terms of few people have a lot of money and they have a lot of nice buildings, and a lot of other people don't have. What I found out is communication is good. There's a lot of, you can just call people from anywhere you want. There's internet, there's a lot of stuff. The food is nice. There's a lot of, I don't know, people started cooking the Western way. There's a lot of nice food. We used only to eat breeze and pasta, and nowadays there's a lot of other stuff. These are the changes that I never expected to see in Wajer, believe me. In terms of the land structure, what I found out is that there's a lot of structures coming up, kind of modern style, very nice 2-3 bedroom apartment, well built with like a very nice fence, stuff like that. What that showed me is that there's money in Wajer. Believe me, we're here in America looking for money, but the money is down the other side. Why not the Martebasha? Why not Rasan? That's what I found out. And I used to go from like township to the Wajir school. We just like walking, talking. But nowadays you have to have a taxi. Taxi is like 500 from, I don't know, from township to like some other place, 500. We never paid $1 for a taxi. We never, nothing. But we just use our 2 foot, And yeah, but that means there's a big change. And what I found in terms of real, I work here, my background is in communication / public administration, stuff like that. But now I work in a child care center. And what I found out is back home when you used to be like 2 years old, 3 years old, the only way you can go to standard 1 is they tell you raise your hand and you have to catch your ear. If, for example, you're a short guy, you cannot catch it. Even if you are 10 years, you're still going to be standard 1. And what I found here working in a child care center, I found that at 3, at 2, at 4, that's at the moment that the brain grows. That whatever you input at that time will have a, like now, I work for Head Start. Head Start, a federal program, 30 years ago. It has a lot of impact. Our kids who are staying home when they are 3, when they are 4, now that we have a new, the governor, and there's this Ministry of Education Child Development. There's a early child learning that will start in every county. We need this kind of thing. We have a lot of professionals. We have doctors here, we have nurses, we have, in fact, about the nurses, we have a lot of nurses back home, but they don't do their work. We need this culture. It's unfortunate that we learn a lot from here, but we're not taking back home. We need to organize ourselves, establish a community for Wajeer people here, and now the governor, what I request from the governors, inshallah, if we get together and organize something, can you support us? Can you be able to say, okay, this is something from the diaspora people, and how can we implement it there? Before there's one poem I want to read. This poem is shot by, hold on a second. I'm sorry, I'm not a public speaker, I don't know why they chose me, but okay. This is particularly for the EU governor. It says, people are illogic, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway.
This is the picture that I had, before I left. So inshallah, what we'll do is next is have Dr. Siad provide some few remarks for the governor, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, engineer. Horta wixii aan dhihi lahayn sharmarke iyo waxa soo gaabiyay Sheikh Mohamed Tahir. I've been with the governor for the last several days, since Thursday. Mine is very brief. I want to thank everyone who came this evening, and I also want to thank everyone who's been volunteering. There's a lot of work that goes into this behind the scenes. There's some people here who haven't seen their families quite a bit the last, since Thursday. I know guys who have not gone to work, who have been driving. Him, and not just him, but we've had a larger delegation from Kenya. There was another governor who's traveling with him from Marsabit. Governor Kanacho, we wanted to have a little bit more in-house Wajeer thing, so we let him loose, so he can go to the malls. But again, I just want to really thank those people who came out and who've left their jobs and done a lot of work. Again, I always say when I speak, we're very nostalgic for our country. The governor can tell from all the occasions we've had, the dinner we've had with the former Prime Minister, the meetings we've had with other Kenyans. You can tell that the diaspora is very eager for our country. I always say we are the 48th county. It's just about time that the government recognizes that. As far as Wajeer is concerned, you have a much larger diaspora than this. It's hard to do things on a short notice. We were able to do this on a 24 hours. I think the email went out in less than a day. So it's quite impressive that we've had this group of people. Next time, we'd love to have you in the summer again, when we can definitely show you that you have a much larger constituency. This was a trip not necessarily to come to visit with us, but it was a larger context on a program organized for Kenyan governors to induct them and have a relationship with US governors, because the form of governance in which to Kenya. So they're trying to learn from US governors and have a transference of skills. So that's why next time we would like to have a full-blown trip for the county, so that you can definitely meet all of us. Again, thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to you hearing from the governor. I'm quite impressed with him. I think you'll feel very proud to be from Wajeer when you hear that the voters, and I have to say this about Marsabit as well, you'll be very proud of our voters back home, that they've really chosen very well this time, because the governors are very eloquent, very well read, they know their substance, they're real chief executives. I think you'll be very proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Siad. Now, inshallah, we'll have Umar Adhan come on over and introduce the governor. Umar is the Deputy Secretary of Diaspora Affairs in the Office of the Governor. So please go ahead and introduce him.
Assalamu alaikum. Well, aniga idinku cusbiyaan fili nin reer guri baan ahay, Minnesota reer baan ku leeyahay, oo ummadda ku dhaho another Obama in the future. And runtii dadka badi waan isgaranaynaa. I'm from Wajir, particularly from Wajir South. Waxaan ku jiray think tankii governorga la shaqeynay throughout the election. Governorga has made something new, new development, or ku jirin countiyada kale kudi. He is the only governor that has diaspora at heart. For information, because he has created diaspora desk I and another gentleman called Ibrahim Rashid Ahmed running the diaspora affairs. I'm his deputy. Ibrahim is my boss. That tells you who the governor is and how he feels the importance of diaspora people. I would like to say a few things about the governor. Governor Ahmed Abdullahi, one in technocrat. He's not a politician. He's a manager. A governor should be and must be a manager. He has led a very beautiful life before joining politics. And for sure, as the other said, people of Wajir County made the right choice in electing him. My work is just to introduce the governor. I was called in to introduce the governor. I'm sure you will be interested to hear a lot from him. I will not waste my time. I will be around the rest of the days as he go back. I'll be with you till November. Who wants to go back? Those of you who has interest in Wajir, please contact me. I'll leave my number. Let us work hand in hand. Let us develop our county. Those of you who have immigration issues, those of you who have investment, want to invest back home, as the governor go, let us talk. Let us actually, I'll give you time so that we can be able to discuss. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the governor to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa thanallah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum walalayal. Marka, I'll be speaking in all the languages that I know. And I want to thank Almighty Allah for giving us this opportunity, first of all. I want to thank all of you for being here at this time. I know the value of time. And you know, time has a bigger value for people in the diaspora than those of us back at home. You know that. Because you work much harder, and you know, and a lot of you took time off whatever you're doing to be here. I'm humbled by the audience. I have teachers of my teachers here. I have people who've been there, done it all, worked for very many years for Wajir County. We might never recognize the work that they did, but they still worked anyway, as Sharmarke said. People and like Abdullahi Irshad here. I have my seniors here, and where's Hussein Dagani? This is worked out, yes. Yeah. Very good, yeah. Yes. Hussein welcomed me into campus while I was a very tiny boy. Now I look much older than him, so. Thank you for being here, all of you. I don't want to be the only one talking, so I'll keep my speech pretty short. I'll structure it in 3 ways. Generally talk about devolution with respect to the Constitution, so that you understand fully, and I'm sure most of you do. You know what our mandate is vis-a-vis what the mandate of the national government is. I'll speak, slightly to the challenges of devolution at national level, and then I'll bring it down to Wajir, and lastly but not least, a little bit of where you come in as the diaspora. And then after that, we'll have an interactive session in which you may ask any and all the questions that you have. The model of devolution that we have in Kenya was a compromise between a unitary central system and a federal system. It was something in between. We've been seeking to change our constitution for the last 20 years. The first referendum that shot down the guy, it was called also Bomas. There was the guy constitution, which changed into Boma's constitution. Yesh Palgai, that's yeah. And then, because people felt that the Boma's constitution was a watered-down version of the Yesh Palgai suggestion, it was shut down in 2005. And in 2007, we had elections. And you know what happened in the aftermath. What that did, if not anything else that's positive, was to create a sense of urgency into the constitution-making process. And I think as a result of that, we concluded the discussions of the Constitution and passed it in 2010. And maybe the biggest gain that we had out of it, especially those of us from the peripheral counties, was devolution. So during the discussions, there were strong proponents of a unified, unitary country with a central command, as we've always known. And then there were also strong voices for a federal system. And the suggested federal system initially was on the basis of the larger provinces. So Northeastern was supposed to be one, Rift Valley the other. And it was felt that if it was done along those lines, then it might affect the holding together of the country. And that's why it was opted that we largely go back to the districts that existed in 1963. And that's how Wajir became one of the 47 counties. And this devolution is more of an economic devolution, in the sense that a portion of the revenues raised at the national level are shared out for basic services at the county level. What the Constitution currently says is a minimum of 15% of the last audited revenues of government, as approved by Parliament, should be given to the 47 counties for 14 functions as listed in the 4th schedule of the Constitution. So these are functions that are listed specifically in the Constitution. And that sort of limits the mandate of county governments to those 14 or so. And there are many. 14 is a large number to remember one by one. But the key ones are, health services, anything that's below a level 5 hospital. What they call referral hospitals are not included, but anything below that. National referral hospitals are not included. Water largely, county roads. Education was touched here by Sharmarke. The bit that we've been given actually is only the pre-primary and village polytechnics. It's one of the contentious issues. Specifically certain things touching on environment, trade, tourism, cooperatives. And that's in as far as generally the mandate and the history to the devolution process is. Of course, this thing is new. And everything new has teething problems. Subsequent to the March 4th election, that created the county governments into being, we realized that there was not a lot of proactive preparation that was done. Although there was a transition authority that was in existence for over a year before we came into office, we started with literally nothing, really. And of course, some counties were better off than others because of what they were inheriting. And I'll discuss that under the challenges that we have in Wajir. But generally, there was not a lot of proactive preparation that was done prior to the establishment of the county governments, and I think that's part of the challenges that we have. The new constitution, in good faith, created very many offices. We used to elect 3 people: the national president, the member of parliament, and the councillor. Now we're electing 6, because there's a senator, a governor, and a county rep, in addition to those 3 that were there. And though the Constitution is very clear as to the doctrine of the separation of powers between legislature, executive, and the judiciary, when you have 6 people who've all been elected, and each of them, feels that he has to do something for the people who elected him, there are a little bit of tough words sometimes, people stepping on each other. Legislature wanting to do executive type implementation work. The duplication of roles between the Senate and the MPs. The county reps, construing their role to be oversight, which it is fine, but mistaking oversight for approval of things. And because the national government was not disciplined enough to keep the national legislature out of executive roles, county representatives also asking for executive roles at the county level. Things like ward development funds for implementation of development activity. These are some of the challenges that were created as a result of this bloated structure in a sense. But I actually realized when I came here that this one, in addition to having almost all those, also has what they call in the county governments, which are the municipalities of sorts, and even has a senate at the state level, which we don't have. So maybe it's only us not understanding our roles. These things could well exist, and people still work, coherently. So those tough wars have been a problem. Squabbles over sharing of monies between national government and county governments. Our understanding as county governments was that with respect to those 14 functions, all the money in the budget, national budget for those 14 functions should have come to us. But as it is, for every 3 shillings relating to those specific 14 functions, 1 shilling has been retained by a national government, which is competing with us in our counties to do the same things that we have been given mandate for. We realized that the constitutional requirement to limit our revenues to 15% of the last audited and approved accounts disadvantages us because the auditing of the accounts is not in our hands. And the approving also is in Parliament's hands, not in our hands. So the last audited and approved accounts are for the year 2010-2011. And that's what's been used as the basis for the equitable share of the monies. Maybe somebody should just have said, suggested then the last revenues as declared by KRA, or as opposed to saying, audited and approved. So to put it into context, county governments are sharing 210 billion. Yet the national budget estimates for this current financial year, of which we're being given the 210 billion, is 1,600 billion. So we're getting 210 out of 1,600. And Wajir is getting 5 billion out of the 210 and 5 billion out of the 1,600 billion. So you can calculate that as a percentage and you see how. And Wajir accounts for 13% of the landmass of Kenya. And so those are some of the challenges. But again, in terms of equitable share, we are one of the better ones. A lot of counties are getting much less than that. So these are generally some of the challenges, everyone trying to find their feet, national government and county government talking at each other instead of talking to each other. And, the leadership, also everyone trying to protect their turf and raising protocol issues, who is senior, who is not senior, and that kind of thing. I think these are some of the challenges that we're having at the national level. At Wajir level, of course, we have also our own peculiar challenges. We were disadvantaged for a very long time. because these revenues were not shared via any formula in the past. For the last 50 years, we've not had much fiscal expenditure happening in the peripheral counties such as ours. It's government money and not personal money that has built all the tarmac roads in the rest of Kenya. There are no individuals that did a harambe to tarmac roads. It's government money that electrified the rest of Kenya. It's government money that constructed all those referral hospitals in the rest of Kenya. And these are things that we are lacking. So there's a huge development gap between the rest of Kenya and ourselves, which government is suggesting through the constitution that it be bridged via what's called equalization fund. And equalization fund gives us 268 million shillings. 268 million shillings cannot bridge the development gap there is between ourselves and the rest of the country. Of course, it's money and it does help somewhere, but it's... So the fact that we're in a 100-meter race, and we're starting at the starting line, while some are already at the 90th meter mark, others are at the 60th meter mark, others are at 50 meters, disadvantages us. We're not generating a lot of our revenue because of the past investment by government into those counties that are doing well. They are, by virtue of the past investment, generating more revenues today. There are counties that raise as much revenue as, say, 50 million in a week, which comes to what? 200 million. I know one county governor who told me that he raises 8 million shillings a day in revenue. And I'm sure places like Nairobi are way ahead of that. It's billions and billions of shillings. For us, we inherited one local authority. Some inherited 6. And that one local authority was raising roughly 20 million shillings for the whole year against an expenditure that was way much higher than that. They used to get about 150 to 160 million from LATIV. Most of it used to go into paying salaries. So the salaries of the county council was being paid by remittances from local authority ministry, local government ministry at national level through LATIV. So we weren't even generating enough money to pay those who are working for the council. We still are not. I think those are some of the challenges that we're seeing at our level. Maybe very briefly, you know about the security issues that we've had, the Mandera conflict and its spillover to Wajir. Maybe something else that can be deemed a challenge is the constant, agitation of clan and sub-clan and sub-clan positions. And though the governor's position was deemed a manager's position, part of what you have to manage is things like those. And it saps a lot of energy, I tell you. Every decision you make is viewed from that prism of why did he do this, who's related to this, and who's... I appointed people, and sometimes when the attribution is done, you'll be told things like, oh, he appointed so-and-so because so-and-so is married to so-and-so, and little did I even know who so-and-so was married to or was to get married to. Yes, and And the thing is, part of the challenge is the clans and the sub-clans also have no defined boundaries. So it moves from one to the other to the other. And the analogy that I give is like they are akin to peeling an onion. When you take one layer, there's always another layer. And now every 3 people constitute themselves into some grouping. I want to engage you on that basis. It is the nature of our society. But on the whole, I believe we also manage that better than a lot of the other counties in northern Kenya, so far at least. So I think those are some of the issues. When you look at the basic services, especially our county is very, very desperate. For instance, water. We are talking today of about over 300 settlements that have no permanent source of water. And the problem is that the settlements are also proliferating at a very fast rate. Because of the paternalistic sub-clan structure, every little sub-clan wants a town and a location and a sub-location to their name. We are unable to stop the creation of new settlements, literally. And what that does is that you constantly, even if you do 100 boreholes as we plan to do this year, and you do another 100 next year, chances are that by the time you're done with those, another 100 settlements will have come up that also need water. Those are some of the challenges. I think what we've done thus far is to set up the skeleton of government. We now have the ministries working. We now have the staff from national government for those functions reporting to the minister. We have appointed our accounting officers and they're going through the process of vetting. We have a public service board that has started recruiting people for positions that we need and that has done needs assessment. We spent quite some money on resettlement issues and are still doing that as a result of the conflict that happened in Mandera. We are now rolling out the so-called development projects. We've contracted the first 13 wells. We hopefully will contract the next 15 this week or the coming week when I return. And we're doing an assessment of the roads to determine, the prioritization, the ones that we need to fix. We have thus far complied with every statutory requirement to do our budgets, our CIDP. CIDP is County Integrated Development Plan, which a lot of counties are still struggling with. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we give ourselves very good mark. We don't know what others give us. Now moving on to you who are here, the diaspora. Of course, what brings us here together is that we all belong, and we belong to, by and large, Wajir County. We appreciate our friends of Wajir who are also here. And we know that you stand to benefit directly also from good governance and development in the county. Why do I say that? If we fix our hospital systems, which I should actually have said now is working much better than we found it, especially the main hospital, it's working 24/7 now. We recruited some nurses as a stopgap measure. One of the things that we realized when we did a head count is that we had more ghost nurses than active nurses. Generally, more ghost healthcare workers than active ones. And it's one of the challenges that we're dealing, reconciling the numbers with the national government, and people who left as early as late as as early as the 90s are still in the payroll. Some who were posted recently and have opted to earn better salaries by working for NGOs in Dadaab and the refugee camp you know, and things like that. Some who were transferred into the county, non-locals, and transferred out immediately, but opted to be retained in the payroll at national level as though they're in Wajir for hardship allowance. Yeah, we're discovering all these things. I was at the beat of the Diaspora. If we have a working health system that cares, you know, for the basics of medical care in a way that does not require your relatives, for instance, to keep calling you at 2 a.m. You know, I had lived in the US some time back, and I know the time difference. And the 2 a.m. calls were very popular. People used to call me at 2 a.m. because probably it's morning for them. They've just woken up. Then, you know, it will impact you directly. Your stakeholders in more ways than that. And I know each of you here works very hard, and each of you takes care of many people back at home and contributes, you know, to other projects. You asked for Harambes, for this madrasa, for this school, for that. So you are stakeholders in a large way. And in addition to the transfer payments, which is what happens between you and your family, we also want you to come back and invest and create employment. Unemployment is one of the biggest things that we have to grapple with for two reasons. One, we do not have anything that we can call a mainstay economy. If you're from Kiambu, chances are that you know your mainstay economy is agriculture. You're either doing food crops or some cash crop like tea, coffee, pyrethrum, whatever. But let's factually say who does livestock rearing in Northeastern today. It's a few old men and a few mamas. The youth, even those who've not gone to school, have deserted that lifestyle and are now in these proliferating, settlements. And very soon, there might even be no grazing land. reer wajeer waxay u bixiyeen suran dad suran la dhahaa soo baxay oo magaalooyinka ay suran yihiin sababtoo meel ay haddii ay ka aadaan ma laho baadiina way ka soo tageen magaaladana way la qabsan laayihiin qaarkood standayd baa iskoo lagu baxeen ku aad ku karaysid kaali weyta noqona ma jiro. And even as we grapple with unemployment, there's close to 5,000 people from the rest of Kenya who are working in Wajir town today. And the disease is catching on in the other major settlements. During the campaigns, I went to Eldas. And there's a bunch of guys who'd made this shoe shine thing. And made it very nicely, very comfortable chair like the ones in Nairobi. So let's say and they're not locals. And they're making money out of that because there are people actually going there to sit there for their shoes to be shined. Sharmarke told us the town has changed. And there's no vacant space now literally between Wajir and Lehele, Wajir and Wagala. And on all sides, So that means there's a lot of construction work that's ongoing. And when I was fixing the carpet in my office, we had to get someone from Nairobi to come and do it. When the air condition was being fixed in our offices, it was all being done by people who are not from there. If you go and have a cup of tea at Wajir Westgate, Wajir Guest House, or at Hilton Palace, or whichever other decent little place there is, you can bet that the tea will be cooked by somebody who is not from Wajir. It will be served by somebody from the rest of Kenya. Maybe you stand a 50% chance that you'll pay the money to someone from there. Maybe he's a trusted lieutenant of the owner, you know, his son or daughter. You know, these are some of the challenges that we have. And we want, one, a mindset shift, a paradigm shift, and we'll try and invest that in, you know, invest in trying to convince the youth that the only remaining jobs are actually these kind of jobs. But we also want you to come and invest and create jobs that they might see a bit more decent than those ones. We can talk here about all the things that we don't have, but there are also a lot of things that we have. One of the things that we have is that we have, I usually tell people that my county has virgin capacity. Everything is untouched. The solar intensity is one of the highest in Kenya. If you go to the plain savanna around Habaswein, all the way up to Arbajahan coming round, the Boji, chances are that during our winter equivalent, which is June, July, if you have a coat like mine, it might be taken out by the wind. And you know, these are the things that now are the new, in things, renewable energy and all that. Studies by Ewasunyiro have shown that we have as much water underground as Turkana has, especially on the Merti Aquifer, which is all the way from Habaswein again, going round to most part of Wajir West. Up in the north, we have a lot of, go from easily mega dams. And all you need to do is to just block the open side, because 3 sides have already been covered for you naturally. And let the water just flow into it. So agriculture can be big. We can commercialize livestock. We can have value addition around livestock. We're sitting on a lot of limestone, which means if we can generate enough electricity, we can actually have cement factories. There are a lot of gums and dressings which are sold without much value addition. Now we're getting a reputation for selling adulterated gums and dressings because tunachanganya mchanga. If you can convince our people that that's not the way to go, then these are some of the things that can fetch money. We have alluvial soils. Hanadan Tumbuhe, it was discovered all you need to do is to add a little bit of cement and compact it. And you have a house literally, you can sell those bricks. Yet a lot of our people are still in those thatched houses. A lot of our hospitals don't still have toilets. So I think those are some of the things. Anyhow, I can be on and on this, but I have to cut it short because I also want you to speak. We want you to come back, at least if not physically, in as far as engagement is concerned with us. You give us ideas. You tell us where we go wrong. We're not angels. We'll make mistakes. And we are very tolerant for constructive criticism. We want to be told what it is we could be doing better. We want you to be our ambassadors here, to attract those with money. One of the things that I learned through my engagement with our brothers from across the border in Somalia is they work through trust. They still have all the clan differences and their clans could be butchering each other in Mogadishu. But they'll come together and have mudaraba schemes. The sheikhs are here, profit sharing schemes. And that's how you see those big towers in Isliwa were built. We want you to do the same. You know, to come together, collect some money, come to us, and see what it is that you can invest in for the betterment of both yourselves and your society back at home. I thank you all. I, in particular, thank everyone who's been involved in welcoming us and taking us around. I've been overwhelmed by the reception that I got here. There are some gentlemen here who've done nothing else since I came. So much so that I actually told them, you are discouraging me from coming back here because you're literally shutting down everything you're doing, and I recognize the effort that they've put in, and I am greatly appreciative. Siad, Madei, Umar, who's been constantly around me but even unable to catch me, literally. Thank you all, and it's good to have you here. Let's please engage. I have an economic council that I constituted. It's mostly by people outside of the county, the people who've so far agreed to be part of it is Julius Kipngetich, CEO of Equity Bank, a gentleman by the name of Patrick Nyoike, who was former PS Energy, Hassan Bashir, who you all know, I suppose most of you do, Ali Dawood, former PS, and it's being chaired by a gentleman called Peter Kariuki, who is the advisor to the President of Kenya on policy and delivery matters. Mohamed Abdurrahman Hassan, chair of National Bank of Kenya, is a gentleman of Somali Diaspora from Eldoret. And on account of the importance of this particular group, I have decided to include Siad to be part of that council, and they'll be working very closely with Ibrahim and Umar, who formed the secretariat for that team, and through that we can collect ideas and we can see how it is that you can also come and engage in county building. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.